Welcome to Catholic News World.
Welcome to Catholic News World. Please subscribe to our channel. My name is Steph. Here are this week's breaking news headlines.
Pope Leo XIV returned safely to the Vatican following his successful and historic 11-day apostolic journey to Africa from April 13th to the 23rd, 2026, marking his first visit to the continent as pontiff. His tour spanned 4 nations: Algeria, Cameroon, Angola, and Equatorial Guinea. The Pope has traveled to Nigeria 9 times previously as Augustinian Robert Prevost. The trip was characterized by his inspiring speaking style and a focus on peace, interreligious dialogue, fraternity, the Eucharist, prayer, social justice, human rights, and hope for the future in Christ. His first stop was to Algeria, in the footsteps of St. Augustine. He became the first pope to visit Algeria. As the first Augustinian pope, he made a personal pilgrimage to Annaba, ancient Hippo. The Holy Father celebrated Mass at the Basilica of St. Augustine, overlooking the ruins where his spiritual predecessor lived and died. In the spirit of interfaith dialogue, he visited the Great Mosque in Algiers and emphasized Christian-Muslim coexistence, describing the small Christian community in the country as living stones, where communion between Christians and Muslims takes shape under the mantle of Our Lady. He planted an olive tree to symbolize peace. His second visit was to Cameroon, where he issued a call to peace amid conflict. In the western city of Bamenda, the epicenter of the country's separatist conflict, the Pope held a peace meeting. Here he released a dove with interfaith leaders. The Pope notably blasted the handful of tyrants who ravaged the world with war. Addressing a massive crowd of 120,000 at Japoma Stadium in Douala, he urged young people to resist the corruption and stay upright despite economic hardships. In Cameroon, he practiced his linguistic skills speaking in English and French. His third stop was to Angola, where he spoke the local Portuguese to the people. He became the first pope to visit the Marian Mama Maxima Shrine, the largest pilgrimage site in southern Africa. Throughout his stay in Luanda and Sarimo, he highlighted Angola as a place where the Church is actively promoting universal human rights and social dignity. The last country Pope Leo visited was the Catholic-majority country of Equatorial Guinea, where Spanish is commonly spoken. The Pope made a visit to a notorious prison in Bata. He spoke about the dignity of all people. Inmates danced and chanted in the rain, a stark scene in a country. He inaugurated a new university campus and discussed the city of God versus the earthly city, quoting St. Augustine to challenge leaders to reject an economy of exclusion. Throughout the trip, he criticized the mineral colonization of Africa, where external powers enrich themselves by stripping the continent of its natural resources. During his final Mass, Pope Leo gave this parting message to the continent: "My gratitude also goes to the civil authorities of the country and to all who have contributed in various ways to the success of my visit. I leave Africa with an immeasurable treasure of faith, hope, and charity. A great treasure consisting of stories, faces, and testimonies, both joyful and sorrowful, which will greatly enrich my life and ministry as the successor of Peter." As in the early centuries of the Church, Africa today is called to make a decisive contribution to the holiness and the missionary character of the Christian people. May this be obtained through the intercession of the Virgin Mary, to whom I entrust you all, your families, your communities, your nation, and all the people of Africa.
Please subscribe to our channel.
The world's oldest nun has just entered the Guinness World Records and celebrated her 113th birthday in New York. At 113 years old, Sister Frances Dominici Piscatella is more than just a witness to history. She is a living testament to faith amidst adversity. As the oldest woman religious in the United States, the Dominican Sister of Amityville in New York State recently celebrated her birthday and was added to the Guinness World Records as the oldest nun in the world. Her great advice is to pray and set the example for others. Sister Dominici's life has been defined by a ministry of presence. Though she retired from a 52-year teaching career at age 84, her impact at the Queen of the Rosary Mother House remains profound. A member of her order since 1931, she has lived through the terms of 20 U.S. presidents and 8 popes. Prioress Sister McVetti noted that Sister Dominici's joy is a tangible reality that anchors the community. Despite her age, she remains a fixture at daily Mass and participates in weekly activities, showing more mobility than many sisters 20 years her junior. Sister Dominici's journey has been marked by overcoming physical hurdles that might have sidelined others. At age 2, her left forearm was amputated. This led several religious orders to reject her before the Amityville Dominicans welcomed her. She earned her bachelor's and master's degrees from St. John's University, eventually teaching math and working in finance. She has survived a shattered arm from a car accident, a hip replacement, and a near-fatal brain bleed at the age of 102. According to the Gerontology Research Group, Sister Dominici is the oldest nun in the U.S. She took the place of the former oldest nun in the world, who died at age 116, Sister Ina Canabaro Lucas of Brazil. Listen to her give a few words of wisdom.
First of all, I was always religiously inclined. So lots of times I was around the convent. We lived in Central Islip, which was very close to Amityville, which is our mother house. And some of my friends had gone to Amityville to become Dominican sisters. And of course, I wanted to follow them. There was no such thing as, remember, your vocation is for you alone. You have to think about God and what you want from the Supreme Being. And you have to thank Him for all the good things He gave you.
Please subscribe to our channel.
Pope Leo gave the traditional interview with journalists aboard the Papal plane back to Rome from Africa. He covered several key issues. Here is the excerpt of him speaking in English.
Thank you for the question. Certainly the presence of a pope with any head of state can be interpreted in different ways. It can be interpreted and has been interpreted by some as, the pope or the church is saying it's okay that they live like that. And others may say things differently. I would go back to something I said in my initial remarks about the importance of understanding the primary purpose of the travel that I do, that the Pope does to visit the people, and of the great value that the system that the Holy See continues with at times great sacrifice to maintain diplomatic relations with countries throughout the world. And sometimes we have diplomatic relationships with countries that have authoritarian leaders. We have the opportunity to speak with them on a diplomatic level, on a formal level. We don't always make great proclamations, criticizing, judging, or condemning, but there's an awful lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to promote justice, to promote humanitarian causes, to look for, at times, situations where there may be political prisoners and finding a way for them to be freed, situations of hunger, of sickness, etc. So the Holy See, by maintaining, if you will, a neutrality and looking for ways to continue our positive diplomatic relationship with so many different countries, we're actually trying to find a way to apply the gospel to concrete situations so that the lives of people can be improved. People will interpret the rest of it as they will, but I think it's important for us to look for the best way that we can to try and help the people of any given country.
Grazie Santità. La prossima domanda è di Verena Schalter della radio tedesca.
Holy Father, congratulations to your first papal trip to the global south. We saw a lot of enthusiasm and also, even euphoria. I can imagine that this was also for you very moving. I would like to know how you assess the decision of Cardinal Reinhard Marx, Archbishop from Munich and Freising, on the permission that he gave permission to the blessing of same-sex couples in his diocese, and in light of different cultural and theological perspectives, especially in Africa, how do you intend to preserve the unity of the global church on that particular matter?
First of all, I think it's very important to understand that the unity or division of the church should not revolve around sexual matters. We tend to think that when the church is talking about morality, that the only issue of morality is sexual. And in reality, I believe there are much greater and more important issues such as justice, equality, freedom of men and women, freedom of religion, that would all take priority before that particular issue. The Holy See has already spoken to the German bishops. The Holy See has made it clear that we do not agree with the formalized blessing of couples, in this case homosexual couples, as you ask, or couples in irregular situations, beyond what was specifically, if you will, allowed for by Pope Francis in saying all people receive blessings. When a priest gives a blessing at the end of Mass, when the Pope gives a blessing at the end of a large celebration like such we had today, there are blessings of all people. Francis's infamous, famous, well-known expression of tutti, tutti, tutti is an expression of the Church's belief that all are welcome, all are invited. All are invited to follow Jesus, and all are invited to look for conversion in their lives. To go beyond that today, I think that the topic can cause more disunity than unity, and that we should look for ways to build our unity upon Jesus Christ and what Jesus Christ teaches. So that's how I would respond to that question.
Grazie Santità, grazie Verena. La prossima domanda è di Annelise Taggart di Newsmax.
Holy Father, thank you very much. You have spoken on this trip about how people hunger and thirst for justice. It was just reported this morning that Iran has executed yet another one of the members of the opposition. And this comes as it has been said that the regime has also publicly hanged multiple other people as well as murdered thousands of its own people. Do you condemn these actions, and do you have any message to the Iranian regime?
I condemn all actions that are unjust. I condemn the taking of people's lives. I condemn capital punishment. I believe that human life is to be respected, and that all people from conception to natural birth, their lives should be respected and protected. So when a regime, when a country takes decisions which takes away the lives of other people unjustly, then obviously that is something that should be condemned.
Grazie Santità, grazie a tutti voi, grazie anche per questi giorni. Forse possiamo concludere qui, anche visto i tempi dei pasti.
Bene, bene, tutti hanno un po' di fame, allora lasciamo che possano servire. Grazie a tutti per la vostra partecipazione e il vostro servizio durante questi giorni.
Grazie a lei.
Please subscribe to our channel.
Pope Francis died at age 88 on Easter Monday, April 21st, 2025, at the Vatican. The Pope died at his residence in the Vatican's Casa Santa Marta. According to Vatican News, it was at 9:45 a.m. when Cardinal Kevin Farrell, Camerlengo of the Apostolic Chamber, officially announced the death of Pope Francis from the Casa Santa Marta. Dearest brothers and sisters, with deep sorrow I must announce the death of our Holy Father Francis. At 7:35 this morning, the Bishop of Rome, Francis, returned to the house of the Father. His entire life was dedicated to the service of the Lord and of his Church. He taught us to live the values of the gospel with fidelity, courage, and universal love, especially in favor of the poorest and most marginalized. With immense gratitude for his example as a true disciple of the Lord Jesus, we commend the soul of Pope Francis to the infinite merciful love of the one and triune God. The Pope was admitted to the Agostino Gemelli Polyclinic Hospital on Friday, February 14th, 2025, after suffering from bronchitis for several days. Pope Francis' clinical situation gradually declined, and his doctors diagnosed bilateral pneumonia on Tuesday, February 18th. After 38 days in hospital, the late Pope returned to his Vatican residence at the Casa Santa Marta to continue his recovery. Pope Francis's public last appearance was the 2025 Urbi et Orbi blessing of Easter Sunday.
Benedicatus omnipotens Deus, Pater, et Filius, et Spiritus Sancti. Amen.
Pope Francis chose a single, simpler zinc-lined timber coffin rather than the traditional three-nested coffins. The coffin, designed for a 2024 reform of papal funeral rites, reflected his desire for humility and simplicity, highlighting his role as a pastor, with the body directly placed inside and not removed for viewing. Pope Francis had a single wooden coffin lined with zinc for long-term preservation. It had a trapezoidal shape and features a red velvet valance over the edges, which was removed before sealing. He eliminated the traditional three-layered coffins, which included a cypress inner coffin and a sealed lead container, and removed the raised platform, canto, that traditionally displayed the Pope's body. As per custom, the coffin contains coins and medals minted during his papacy, along with the Rogito, a formal document detailing his life and ministry. Unlike most modern predecessors who were buried in St. Peter's Basilica, Pope Francis requested to be buried in a tomb within the Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore, St. Mary Major, in Rome. The simplified single-layer design aligns with his and aligns that the Catholic Church's move towards portraying the deceased Pope as a servant of God rather than a powerful political figure.
State and government announced their participation, including the Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni. The presence of Presidents Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine, Donald Trump of the United States, Lula da Silva of Brazil, Emmanuel Macron of France, Javier Milei of Argentina, Frank-Walter Steinmeier of Germany, Andrzej Duda of Poland, Ili Balajian of Romania, Michael Higgins of Ireland, Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa of Portugal, Thomas Suliak of Hungary, then the royals of Belgium, Philip and Mathilde, and of Spain, Felipe and Letizia, the Prince of Monaco Albert II, Prince William of the United Kingdom, the German Chancellor Scholz.
According to Vatican estimates, approximately 250,000 people attended Pope Francis's funeral mass in St. Peter's Square on April 26, 2025. An additional 150,000 people lined the streets of Rome to witness the procession, bringing the total estimated crowd to about 400,000 mourners. The funeral was held in St. Peter's Square, followed by a private burial at St. Mary Major Basilica. Dignitaries included representatives from 142 United Nations member states who attended the ceremony. The event marked the beginning of a 9-day mourning period, known as the Novemdiales. Pope Francis requested to be buried in a simple tomb at St. Mary Major, rather than in the Vatican grottos, highlighting his dedication to humility. Here are some highlights from the funeral of Pope Francis. You can also see Pope Leo XIV as Cardinal Robert Prevost among the cardinals. The final moments show the transfer to St. Mary Major Basilica.
Thanks for watching, and please subscribe to Catholic News World's channel. God bless.